The Hurricane, to me, is the ultimate drink for a good time. At its heart, it's essentially a passion fruit, pomegranate and orange rum sour, which is a delicious drink, but over the years it's been kind of marred by overly sweet and synthetic takes. So today I'm going to show you my absolute favourite Hurricane recipe, which might also be the very simplest. So let's have a look at it now. So the Hurricane was invented in the 1940s at Pat O'Brien's bar in New Orleans, and the story goes that rum was much easier to get hold of at the time than other spirits, so the bar set about creating delicious drinks which contained rum, and this is a perfect example of that. So my favourite recipe for a Hurricane really keeps things simple, and you'll see some recipes which call for 15 mils of this, 20 mils of that, 12.5 mils of that, 2 mils of that, and that's not really the way I want to approach this drink. I want to make it as easy as possible, because being completely honest, I've been put off from making Hurricanes for a long time because there are so many things you need, so many different measurements, but I think this recipe, which is pretty much entirely equal parts, is as effective, if not more effective, than any of the others I've tried. So today I'm going to show you that. So to make this version of the Hurricane, we're going to need 3 rums of your choice essentially. I'm going with Eldorado 3, Appleton 8, and also Gosling's Black Seal rum. And these 3 work really nicely together, bring in kind of rich vibes. The lighter rum kind of balances out the richer rum. The Jamaican rum brings a really nice kind of tropical fruit funkiness to the drink, and you can play around with these. Use whichever 3 rums you like. You could just use 1 rum, but triple up the amount you add in there, so you add the same amount as we would of the 3, and experiment here. This is all about experimentation. I really like this combination. There's a world of rum out there, and let me know in the comments below which is your favorite rum or combination of rums for a Hurricane. To our rums, we're going to need some acidity. This is going to be in the form of lime juice. We're going to need a sweetener, which also has acidity, which is going to be freshly squeezed orange juice, and this really levels it up from using bottled. And then we're going to need a sweetener, which is going to be grenadine. And I really like to add a little bit of saline solution because I really think these are big flavors, and bringing them together with a pinch of salt in the form of a few drops of saline works really nicely. Finally, a Hurricane wouldn't be complete without a passion fruit, which is one of the key flavors of a Hurricane, so we're going to use that later. So now I've got all our ingredients, we can start building our Hurricane. So the Hurricane historically is a really, really big drink. I'm talking huge, and I think actually way too big. So I'm going to build this in our shaker tin, but this recipe, as I said, is very simple, almost entirely equal parts. So you can really easily scale it up as much as you want. You could double it up and put it in a classic Hurricane glass, that'd be completely fine. But just be mindful, you'd be drinking 90 mils of rum, which is quite a lot by anyone's standards. So if you're going to do that, take it easy, drink responsibly. So first of all, we've got our white rum in there already, 15 mils. Then I've got 15 mils of my Jamaican rum, and these work really nicely together. And then we've got those rich molasses notes from our Black Seal rum. And as I said, these are a really perfect base for experimentation. Use the rums you have, try new rums, experiment with different rum agricole, different ages of rum, different styles of rum, different origins. Wherever the rum comes from will have a big impact on the flavor profile. As with the production method, aging, etc. Rum has so many variables, so many flavor notes you can find in there. So have a good experiment and find your own perfect blend for your Hurricane. To 15 mils of each rum, once again, keeping things really simple, we're going to go with 15 mils of our lime juice for our freshness and zing, which is really important in a drink which historically can be a little bit overly sweet. Bridging our sweetness and acidity, I'm going to go with our freshly squeezed orange juice, but this is perfectly intact. This is a really beautiful orange, and there's a lot of flavor in the peels, which if you can maximize, I do recommend using. You can use that in things like oleo saccharum. You can use it as a garnish. So ideally, if you've taken the peel off, you can use an orange like this for juicing, and that's going to be a little bit more sustainable, really maximizing the flavor we get from our oranges. So we're going to go in with 15 mils of our freshly squeezed orange juice. And as I said, using fresh just really levels up the drink. If you use bottled, it tends not to have that vibrancy and freshness of freshly squeezed orange juice. And we're going to go 15 mils of that. I'm going to go in with 15 mils of our sweetener, which is going to be grenadine. I'm using the Mon and grenadine syrup. And this is essentially a pomegranate flavored sugar syrup, which gives it that really nice red vivid color that you often associate with a Hurricane. And then optionally, I'm going to go in with 0.5 grams of our saline solution, made with 1 part salt to 5 parts water, just to bring all those big flavors together. And no Hurricane would be complete without passion fruit. So I'm just going to cut this in half and add all of the pulp straight into the shaker, and it'll give it that really nice kind of tart, sweet, tropical flavor that we all know and love with passion fruit. Just going to add around about 100 grams of crushed ice to this. Give it a couple of very quick shakes over ice just to kind of mix it all together, but we don't want to overly dilute, so no more than 5 seconds. Then you want to open pour this into a chilled highball glass. I'm just going to top this up with a little bit more crushed ice. And one thing to remember here is that because we're open pouring, we're going to get all of the passion fruit pulp in the drink. Some people really like this, you might prefer it out of there. And if that's the case, you can just shake this with cubed ice, fine strain it into crushed ice, and you'll get a really similar result. But you do run the risk of having a little bit more dilution, and you don't get that really nice passion fruit pulp coming up the straw. So whichever way you go, completely your call. I love passion fruit, I love that texture as a little surprise, but make it your preferred way. To garnish, I'm just going to cut a little wedge of lime, so you can adjust the balance of the drink if you prefer to. I'm going to pair this with a really nice boozy cherry and finish off with a nice wooden straw. And there we have my favourite version of a passion fruity, rummy, tropical, delicious drink called a hurricane. Cheers.